Long down the right side. Caught. Touchdown, Washington State.
Long three.
What a catch by Phillip Bobo.
The Palouse is going to pop.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fieldhouse Report. I'm Cougar Carlson. This is Drew Callahar, and we have a very special guest with us today, and that is Devin from the Williams Sauce Company. Welcome, Devin.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are glad to have you. Devin and I met at the CougsFirst show in Bellevue back on May 9th, where we got the chance to meet. Devin, normally when we kind of start these conversations, obviously we want to hear a lot about your business, but obviously you're a Coug. Tell us how you kind of became a Coug.
Yeah. I always say I kind of stumbled upon being a Coug. So for my family, I grew up watching a lot of UW. My dad went to University of Washington. I'm from the Seattle area. Actually grew up in Federal Way. So probably, I would say 70% of my graduating class ended up at UW or one of the UW branch schools at UW Tacoma or UW Bothell. I was one of the 12 weirdos who decided to travel across the state to go to Washington State. But really the first time I'd ever kind of become connected with anything Washington State related was my brother, who's 4 years older than me, decided to go to Pullman because he went through the college process. My dad said, "Hey, I'll help you if you stay in state." And he decided, "Hey, I want to get a little bit away from family. Let's go across the state." And when I was a sophomore in high school, the first time I had traveled to Pullman was for Mom's Weekend. It was my sophomore year Mom's Weekend. My mom was going, so I just came and accompanied her across the state. And my brother showed me around campus. And it's like, oh, okay, it's a lot different than I thought. And at that time, I don't know what I would have thought for college, but it was kind of the first time I could see myself, okay, this place is okay. It's cool. And then when I was going through my college process, I applied to a bunch of schools, got into a lot of schools out of state, some other Pac-12 schools. But again, I was like, let's make the smart choice. My brother's going to Washington State. Let's give it a shot, and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. That's
That is
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to hear how everybody gets there. Everybody's got sort of a different story, a winding path. But what was your first year like being in Pullman? I mean, obviously Pullman is pretty different than Federal Way, Western Washington.
Yeah, not gonna lie, there was times where it felt a little tough, just because being in such a small town. Granted, I grew up in the suburbs, so me thinking about this like rationally nowadays, like it wasn't that bad. I guess the idea that growing up in Federal Way, I grew up near the water, and
Yeah.
I think missing that component of not having the water. I know we have the Snake River, but it wasn't the same as being able to look out and see the Puget Sound and having that accessible, because it wasn't even as much as missing my parents or whatnot. It was just missing the whole environment that I was used to, that everybody takes a second to get used to. Because I knew some people from Federal Way who were there for literally 2 weeks and then left.
It's not for everyone.
No. I saw our small numbers already just dwindle down. So I think by the time I graduated, I had from my graduating class, I had 4 other people who had graduated high school with me, of the 12 that went there that actually finished in Pullman. And we all love it. We're all Cougs for life. The first year, it was a little hard, but at the same time, I met so many people. I have some of my best friends I met during a live. So met during a live.
Yep.
We rekindled as soon as I was back on the campus for move-in week. And yeah, we haven't looked back. We've been good friends. One of my buddies actually was helping me with a business pop-up yesterday, and he's engaged right now. So I've been going through this journey for 10 plus years now with some of them. So it was fun. I was on the south side of campus. Loved the late nights at Flicks. I don't know if you all remember Flicks. So I was staying in Rogers Hall specifically. And
Me too, yes.
The Rogers. Yeah, it's weird. I met some people when I was traveling around the country who happened to go to Wazoo, who also happened to stay at Rogers Hall. So I feel there's a weird kinship for all of us who never choose Rogers Hall. We just get put there. So
Yeah. A few years back, there was a kind of a video documentary called Legends of the Palouse. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but towards the end, they have like these different theories on what makes WSU special. And I think of all the theories that they have, the one that resonates the most is the shipwreck theory. And the theory basically goes that if you got shipwrecked on a deserted island, it'd be tough. You'd have some tough times. You'd have some, obviously some adversity that you'd face. But when you got rescued, eventually, you'd probably look back on that island and you'd had formed a bond, a really special bond with the people that you had been stuck on that island with, had to survive with, had to make it happen. And I feel like that's a lot of people's experience at Washington State. They get there and they're like, oh man, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And then they start to meet other people, and then all of a sudden, I mean, there's just no other place where you're going to be stuck with so many other people that are in your same shoes, just trying to get by and survive and go to school. So it's pretty special from that aspect.
Yeah. I think Washington State's a pressure cooker in a way. I mean, that's a good thing. A lot of people, it's such a different environment. They're used to sink or swim, but the people who get through that really cherish that experience.
I love the connection, obviously, between food and then like being in Pullman. Like it's a pressure cooker, right? Like it's it's kind of like synonymous, obviously, with your business, Williams Sauce Company. Devin, tell us how you kind of got started with that business and what prompted you to really move in this direction.
Yeah, yeah. So I've loved food since I was a little kid, and I've actually been barbecuing since high school. So it's been going on probably like 14 years, 13 years now, where I've had a smoker smoking ribs. Yeah, just imagine, yeah, a 16-year-old just messing with a vertical smoker, sitting there prepping,
Nice.
pulling the silver skin off the ribs, making my own rubs, making my own barbecue sauces, and like just doing it for weekend football games, doing it for friends. I did it for my own graduation.
Nice.
But ever since I was a little kid, I watched a lot of Food Network. There's two things that were always constant. I love food and I love travel. When I got older, I learned to love sports more than just like the surface level little kids. You don't really understand sports as like a 2 or 3 year old unless you're way ahead of the curve. But for me, I watched a lot of Anthony Bourdain. I watched a lot of like Alton Brown, if you know them. It was just food just fascinated me, and everything looks so good. And I learned from a young age, if I want food, I got to learn how to make it myself, because I can't just ask mom all the time, hey, can you make this? Because the answer is usually no. It's like if I learn how to make my own food, I can have my own thing. So back when I was in elementary school, I think first grade, I started waking up and making my own lunches before going to school. Most of the time, it was something real simple, just like a little canned soup and like a certain sandwich that I'd make and bring it. But I'd make my own breakfasts. I'd make my own sandwiches. My mom just had to make sure I got on the bus. That was it. She was upstairs sleeping. She trusted me. I trusted I wasn't going to mess with the stove, or I wasn't going to mess up the stove. Then I just kept going from there. And then as I got older, I got more curious on what I like, what I wanted to do, and then led me through college. Food, I would say, when people talk about love languages, I love cooking for people. That's an expression. Say, hey, I appreciate you. It's also just a way for me to show my own creativity. Other than like, maybe some people say I'm an okay singer, but I don't think I could ever go sell an album going singing, or I'm definitely not like a great freehand artist. But food is always where I've been able to throw my own self into. And I was working in finance for 5 years over here in Southwest Washington. And then after a few years, I was just like, you know what, I want to do something else. Like, I've gone through this. I can always jump back and do this if that's what pulls me to it. I studied economics when I was in school. I wasn't a hospitality major. I wasn't anything in there. But when I was at Washington State, I did do culinary Cougs, which I don't know if it's still a program that's running. At the time, there was it was run by all the chefs of the different dining halls, plus the executive chef of the Washington State whole food program.
Wow.
They essentially, it was like every Sunday, we basically just go to the north side dining hall kitchen, and they had a back room where, I don't know if you know, that's where the athletes used to eat before they built the athletic building.
Yep.
So we would have that space, and they'd bring different ingredients, and we had a different type of recipe for the week, and we would just cook. We were just in the kitchen, whether we were making sushi or we're doing like chicken cordon bleu, or it was just like a way for people interested in cooking just to cook, especially since Washington State didn't have a specific, like, obviously food program where somebody could learn to be a chef. It wasn't a culinary school. but it was a way to like express that creativity, and it was really fun.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the founding of Williams Sauce Company. Like, when did you know that that was the angle that you wanted to take on this, and what went into what was the process of developing it in the first place?
Yeah, so essentially, I always knew I wanted to get into food, and opening up a restaurant's really expensive. It's really difficult. Yeah, you never know what you're gonna do, and you shouldn't sink hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to do something you're not totally sure. So but I've always been a barbecuer. I always liked making sauces, and in fact, when I was in Pullman, a couple times I thought about, hey, maybe when I go home, I should go bottle some sauces, and maybe we could sell it at some farmers markets and make a couple bucks with a friend who wasn't in Pullman but was back home that I grew up with. That never materialized just because busy, and I spent a couple summers in Pullman. Specifically, I was working IT at that med when I was there, so it just didn't have time. That was already a better job I'm sure, going home and hustling, selling sauces. About 3 years ago, I was just thinking about like, okay, man, I want to do something else. Like this is the time. I don't have kids. I'm not married, so it's like I have the more flexibility to make a switch and do something. And I had a friend who was a little more entrepreneurial. He didn't go to Wazoo, but I was back. I grew up with him, so I was back at home. We were going on a walk with him and his son, and I was just kind of talking through things. And he kind of gave me the idea of like, yeah, it's like you can just sell sauces. Like, yeah, it's like you're good. You make good food, and that was kind of the aha moment I needed. And then the next week, went and formed the LLC. Went and started my recipe development, and I wanted to use my sauces, my barbecue sauces, but not just those, but everything else is kind of a launch pad into building a bigger food group. That right now I'm kind of I'm still on the ground level, but I'm moving up. There's been a lot that's happened in this last month that has kind of pushed me to doing some more stuff and thinking a little bit bigger about where I want this to go.
That's awesome. As far as like kind of moving forward and kind of your plans with this, what are some of the things that we can foresee Williams Sauce Company doing to kind of, build your brand and establish yourself? I mean, we kind of had some side conversation before we started this episode, but what are some things you're kind of getting into?
Yeah. So right now, the biggest thing is I've booked myself all summer doing a complimentary business to my sauce company. So what I'm doing is a thing called Williams Good Sandwich, and it's a sandwich pop-up, specialty sandwich pop-up that's all around the Portland area for this summer. We'll see how it evolves after September. But essentially, what I've been doing is I've been partnering with a bunch of breweries, a bunch of tap rooms. A lot of them don't have many robust food menus, and they reached out to me specifically. Like, hey, do you want to make food?
Nice.
And what I've been doing is coming up with a new recipe every week. I've had some people come and help me, but I've been doing essentially kitchen takeovers or back patio takeovers where I'll set up, and I'm making the last 2 weeks. Last week I did a smoked and fried chicken sandwich and paired that with like my own tangy coleslaw. This week I did a Korean fried chicken sandwich that complements a sweet and spicy gochujang sauce that I'm trying to
I'm
get.
salivating
Now,
just
yeah.
hearing this.
Yeah, so buttermilk brine, chicken thigh, deep fried in like a flour potato starch dredge paired with my sauce, which is like garlicky, sweet and spicy gochujang sauce. And then people could kick it up to whatever heat they wanted, and I had some spicy Asian dust that I could throw on there, and everyone loved it. But yeah, it's every week the menu changes. It's complementing not only my barbecue sauces, but also the other sauces that I'm trying to get out. So right now, if the steps are, let's see how this pop-up grows. I want to grow this brand because it's been really successful so far. Every bar owner and brewery owner that I've talked to so far, I've gone there, they've tried my food, and then immediately they're like, hey, can we just book you out for as many days you want? Whatever day you want, we want you back, because they think the food's great. And I've gotten really, really great positive reaction. I actually hope at one point I'd love to go to Pullman for a game day and be able to set up and be able to sell before. But I got to figure that out. I was talking to some people at CougsFirst, and they were saying it's a different process. I probably have to wait until July before that stuff starts opening up. Seeing if it works, I'd love to have like good quality, more artisanal food, as somebody would say, at the event. But I guess my goal right now, where I see it, is to build the brands, going through these pop-ups. Later this summer, I'm hoping to get my next products out and running. That would be a sweet and spicy gochujang sauce. It'd be a Maui Hawaiian style teriyaki to complement with my barbecue sauces, which is the volcanic barbecue and it's also the sweet barbecue. And then after that, I want to get those into wholesale, get those in retail here in the Portland area. And then also, I actually want to target Eastern Washington, see what I can do about getting into the Tri-Cities, getting to Walla Walla, Pullman, Spokane, expand all the way to Western Montana, and then see how that goes and have that as one side of my business. Also have this pop-up side if this is successful to grow that and potentially open up in a brick and mortar or potentially might be a food truck. We'll see. But that will be something I'll reevaluate once the winter comes and just kind of see where I'm at, where demand is. And want to keep on growing out the product. Want to get a special Cougs, a Cougar Collective product if I can. Old Crimson barbecue sauce if it's possible. Yeah. But right now I gotta just pump the brakes. It's, as you know, investing in yourself. There's almost only so much time and only so much capital that you have to expand yourself.
Yeah. Man, well, you're making me hungry. It's only 9 when we're recording this. It's only roughly 10 a.m. and I'm like ready for lunch now after hearing all of this stuff.
I'm literally salivating everything he said.
So for our listeners that haven't had a chance to, they haven't been lucky enough to taste a Williams Sauce Company barbecue sauce. You have 2 flavors right now. You spoke to it. You have the hot volcanic barbecue and the sweet barbecue. Can you tell us real quickly about like what the flavor profile of those is like? Describe to somebody that hasn't had the chance to taste it yet.
Yeah. So the way I would describe it is if you're somebody who likes barbecue, it's a cross between a Memphis style and a Carolina style for barbecue. So a little, you get a little more of that punch from that tang and that vinegar and it's a little more thin along with kind of the traditional flavors that you get in a Memphis style, molassesy. You have this really kind of rich, bold flavor that pops through. If you're somebody who isn't super into barbecue sauce, I would say think of it like a fancy Sweet Baby Ray's. That's a little thinner. That's the best layman's terms I could put it. But overall, I want to use really high quality ingredients in the sauces. So eventually I want to get them all certified organic, or if not, almost all the ingredients I'm using are certified organic. Most people know once you taste it, there's no corn syrup in there. It's a very smooth taste, cane sugar, molasses, agave, which is something you usually don't see in barbecue sauces. But I thought that was something that really kind of set the flavor profile a little bit different. Along with, there's the hot barbecue specifically. There's 3 spices in there. There's a habanero, there's a chipotle, and there's also a cayenne. So you got to get these layered heat that doesn't hit you right away, but then you start to feel it and kind of hits your tongue, but not very long. You know, it's not like when you're eating like Szechuan, and Szechuan kind of lingers on forever and it kind of gets everywhere. It's more of like you get a noticeable heat, you get like that nice little ride for about a minute, but it's a ride. So the ride eventually comes down.
I love the description of everything you just described, man. It sounds so good, and we look forward to trying it out, and perhaps we can even try it on a future episode, Drew and I.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have to ask, you got to go to the CougsFirst show. What can our listeners and other Cougs do to support you right now and moving forward as you grow this business? Yeah.
So the best way to support me is they can order a bottle online right now at www.eatwilliamsfood.com, and I ship to anywhere in America. And as soon as the orders get in, they get out the door. So it should only take a couple days. And if anyone's in the Portland area or coming through the Portland area, if they follow me on my Instagram, which is Williams Good Sandwich, I'm building out a website right now, but only have so much bandwidth, so I haven't been able to complete that. If they follow me on Instagram, I have an update of scheduled events. For now, for the near future, I have at least 2 events every week moving forward. So if they're in the Portland area or passing through, come stop by, have a drink. I'm going to try to see with some of the breweries that I'm going to be at if I can start hosting a couple Coug games, or at least make sure the Coug games are on, and telling some of the local alumni groups that they should stop by. But those would be the 2. Just come by, see me, let them know that they found me on the podcast, or just order online. And we're working to get into stores, but that would be the best way.
Yeah, and we will put a link to both his Instagram account and his website in the link below. You guys will see it. Again, Williams Sauce Company with Devin here. Man, I'm ready to like eat right now. And as Drew
Me
said,
too.
it's only 10
Me
a.m.
too. Me
It's
too.
only 10 a.m. And your description of everything is so good, you know?
No,
But
yeah. I'm sorry,
I
go ahead.
had a feeling it was going to be that way when he was talking about how passionate he was and all the cooking he did growing up. I'm like, he's going to be able to describe this pretty well, and did not disappoint.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a foodie. I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. I've gotten the privilege to travel quite a bit in my young adult life, and usually I always say my trips are all planned around food. So whatever I want to do for that day, I look up the restaurant first, and then I figure out stuff to do around that area of those restaurants. So I've gotten to
Yeah,
really expand my palate quite a bit.
that's awesome.
That
That's
is
great.
awesome.
Do you want me to? Is there anything else, Devin, you wanted to mention or we wanted to ask before we wrap?
Yeah, I know you're usually talking about WSU athletics. So for me specifically, I love WSU football just like everybody else, but man, the last 2 years I've gotten really into WSU basketball more so because I went through the Ernie Kent era of the team
I'm
was
so
was
sorry. I'm
awful.
so
Yeah, there.
sorry.
I remember a couple times when I was over there when we lost to Idaho, and I was like, man, this team's rock bottom. This like it's
Yeah,
hard, especially you all in Eastern Washington. It's easy to like follow Gonzaga because Gonzaga is still just aesthetically they're always winning. So you get a lot of people who just follow them. And
right.
once our basketball team was so good, like the most cathartic I've ever felt about a WSU athletic event was when we beat Arizona. Because when I
Mm-hmm.
was sitting like I was at a bar, I left the bar because I'm like, I can't be around you people. I need to be by myself as I'm watching this. And then when Jalen Wells hit that shot, that corner 3-pointer, it probably woke up my neighbors just screaming like, yeah. So, I want to know just what you guys' plans are for covering Coug basketball. I know we have Coug football season. I'm really excited about that too. But if you have any plans to get to any basketball games or get some people on the podcast.
Yes, we definitely plan to cover both men's and women's basketball as we've done just this last year to kind of finish out the season when we started our podcast. Drew and I would watch the games for both men's and women's, and then we would kind of report on it. And we certainly plan on having, some athletes on, potentially some coaches, but we're just really excited because we think that there's a lot of potential for both programs moving forward. I think with the whole game, like Gonzaga is going to be a game I absolutely go to. I'll just block it on my calendar and I will absolutely go. But
Yeah.
to answer your question, I think I'm going to be going to a few more women's games this year because I think Cami Etheridge is going to be able to turn the corner and get us back into the March Madness. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for that. Drew?
Yeah, well, we'll be renewing our men's season tickets for sure, trying to get to as many women's games as we can as well. Yeah, I think the direction of both programs is exciting. I was a little worried about men's basketball and women's, honestly, after the season ended and our rosters got just absolutely gutted. But it seems like both coaches are doing a good job of adjusting and filling in with our own transfers that are going to make an impact. So yeah, and the last point I'll make on that is the new pack in basketball is going to be really, really fun. I mean, Utah State is a great environment. Obviously, we know what Gonzaga does. Boise has been right on the bubble a lot of the past 10 years. So yeah, it's gonna be a really competitive basketball conference, which will be I didn't even mention San Diego State, who's been awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. You could argue that it's almost a better basketball conference than the old Pac-12. I mean, obviously you had Arizona and UCLA, but then after that, I mean, so I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah. I
Yeah, and to
think.
speak
Oh,
to,
sorry.
go ahead, Devin.
No, I was going to say to your point about being a better basketball conference. I think the pack. It's still hard to deny the pack with UCLA and Arizona and all those schools. But I think the teams coming into the conference, if you look at their stadium environments, they care way more about basketball than your average pack team, including us. And I think we need to really get people out there to the game. But it's like you see Utah State rocking, you see Boise State rocking. What do they call San Diego State's stadium again? I forget the name, but yeah, that's just a madhouse. And
Yeah.
then we don't obviously not to mention Gonzaga. So it's like we have a lot of fun environments. And I think the Cougs, we got to step it up ourselves when we're going to the new conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you mention all that because I was there during the really great years of Tony Bennett. And so I got to watch when the Cougs were ranked either fourth or fifth that one season with Tony Bennett, and they played UCLA. And mind you, the game, happened on my birthday that year. I camped out the entire night before in the blistering cold. Like, I mean, the snow was coming down and like wind was coming at us at all directions. And we're camped outside Beasley Coliseum, and I've literally packed the tent with my friends, and I bought my tent from Walmart. And then anyways, I'm not going to
Yeah.
finish that part of the story, but basically got in. And I mean, we lost to UCLA, but I just remember like we were so competitive because of the system that Tony Bennett had brought in. And I know that obviously the likes of Ernie Kent and Kent Bone weren't the strongest eras at Washington State, but there's still some good players that came from both those coaches as well. So
Yeah.
Kent was great at finding diamonds in the rough, including like CJ Ellaby, who was there, Robert Franks, who was a guy who I don't know if you follow, but killing it in Europe.
Yep.
That's a player that
Yep.
has a good following.
Yeah.
And I think end of the year last year wasn't amazing, but that team was hamstrung with so many injuries. And I don't know about how many players towards the end of the season might been looking for the next opportunity. And it's hard to do with NIL era because there's so much money and so many temptations going around. But I think Riley, he has a system and a plan. He seems like, you could see the intensity as he coaches. And I don't think this is going to be one of those, Ernie Kent just kind of mailing it in towards the end of his tenure. Or Ken Bone, who I don't necessarily think Ken Bone was a bad coach, but I think that he just didn't have the juice to be able to make it work at Pullman specifically. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think the thing that I really hope that Cougar fans don't let happen, and obviously it starts with the team that's on the court and the coaches, but we had so much momentum coming off the Kyle Smith era, obviously making the big dance. And I was in grad school when he started, and just the way he implemented the system and built us up, I just hope that we don't lose that momentum and that expectation that we are a contender and we should have our eyes set on being in the NCAA tournament every single year. We can't develop the mindset that we're settling for anything less. So
yeah, I would say basically all Coug fans, the euphoria that we see for football, I like people just to take a little bit of that and go to one game this year. Just all one game. We play in Seattle. It's Seattle U. We play in Portland, it's like we play in Spokane. We have no excuses for any Coug in the Pacific Northwest not to see WSU. And we're playing up and down the West Coast between here and San Diego. So like we have all the opportunities in the world. Everyone could just come out to one game a year for the men's or women's team and just lend a little support. I went to the WCC tournament last year in Vegas and got to hang around there for a little bit. It was fun. It was fun. That first beatdown that we put on LMU and unfortunately couldn't put it together against USF. It's I think we have we're gonna have a sneaky squad this year. I think they'll be better than what the projections are just based on the system and the guys he brought in. Seems like he's really emphasizing defense because defense and rebounding, which were, if you look at our advanced stats, I'm a college basketball junkie. If you look at our advanced stats on KenPom, we were amongst the worst defensive rebounding teams in all of college basketball.
Yeah.
And that did us in. That did us in. That was it.
Yeah, that was everything we kind of talked about actually on our podcast. Like when we were wrapping up the seasons, like, man, we just can't get those rebounds, or, we couldn't get, transition points, or, we were good at transition for the most part, but we just couldn't quite finish.
Yeah. Unforced turnovers. We were near the bottom 5 in the country in unforced turnovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I swear it was like every game recap we did, it was like, man, if we could just stop turning the ball over and get a few rebounds, we'd be really good. It just sounded like a broken record. And that is that I express this. I have faith in Riley. I'm a Coug optimist. I always think we're going to come out and be better than everybody expects. The one thing that I am a little nervous about is that we seem to get worse on those things. If I as a fan am sitting on my couch saying this is a problem and we never got better at it. It just became worse. But to your point, it was probably more of a personnel thing than an effort or a coaching thing. It was just where we were at with our roster at that point. Guys' legs were just fried, and we were just playing the same people too many minutes.
Coward was supposed to be our best rebounder, and Coward being hurt really hampered something. Coward to the combine measured a 7'2" wingspan. So he has the same wingspan that we had for Isaac Jones last year, if that said anything. So missing him changed the whole dynamic of the offense. We went a little smaller for the lineup, and then less rebounding. But at the same time, I think he kind of maxed out what he could get with the guys. I think they overperformed to start the year when all those guys were hurt, and then a couple coaches realized there's a couple deficiencies on the team and really attacked that. And that's tough. You can only do what you got to do, but we got a couple young players like Thrasherson, who I think showed a lot of promise as well as Why Not last year. So I'm really curious to see their year 1 to year 2 jump. And if those could be a substantive, then what the guys we brought in, we could have a sneaky little squad. But the one thing I like to implore Cougs as we move forward into this new uncharted Pac-12 era is I believe we have a better chance to legitimately compete for national titles in basketball than football. Not that I don't believe in Rodgers, but as we know for football, it's hard. It's hard in football, especially you need the lines, you need the offensive lines, you need the big guys, and those are the hardest to get when you're competing against the Alabamas of the world. But you can put together a ragtag group of basketball players, and you can get some momentum and run through the NCAA tournaments. I'd love to see people get back and supporting Coug basketball so we can get to that point.
Yeah, everybody, the one that we need to focus on, you guys, is the night before the night before the Louisiana Tech football game, we play the Huskies at home on Friday night. And that game should have an awesome environment. So Cougs, get out to that one for sure.
Yeah, get out there because from the comments from UW's coach, who knows if they're going to be continue scheduling us in the futures. Whatever happens, we got to at least continue to beat them in Pullman so we can have the last laugh.
Yep. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, that does it for another episode of the Fieldhouse Report. Devin, we can't thank you enough for coming on. We really appreciate it. And again, Cougs, if you want to support Devin and the Williams Sauce Company, go ahead and click the link below and buy a couple sauces for this upcoming football season and basketball season like we talked about as well. We really appreciate it, Devin.
Thank you, too, for having me.
Go Cougs.
Thank you for being on. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.